we don't even have money to keep sustaining those kinds of scholarships when we have billions of young people who are not getting educated. So I agree completely that if you want to move this country forward, then we can't continue to procrastinate on the day. We have to start insisting that if you want to play a very important role in the Nigerian education system, or in fact, if you want to hold a political office that is at the level of minister, commissioner, director general, registrar, you must be willing to train your children out, within the country, because that is what will put you under pressure to ensure that the system works, especially if you are playing any role within the education system, a registrar of JAMB, executive secretary of University Commission, minister of education, the president himself, the vice president, and all the assistants. If they are not willing to let their children train here, then they shouldn't also be interested in playing such political roles. And until we are able to get them to comply and have a law that makes it, something that is offensive, we are not going to be able to certainly move the country forward with respect to education. So that's the way to state it. And in proper countries, that's the way it has to be. Even if we move a little bit, out of education and go to health, until you get your president to have all his medical checks here, you are not going to get him to pump enough money to fix the system, provide the technology, train the people who are going to run the system.
Speaking of money, the argument that each administration makes is that as a developing nation with serious infrastructure gaps, we have so many demands on our budget. It's difficult to allocate more than one-tenth of our budget to education without other equally important sectors suffering. I mean, we're supposed to get our budget for education to be at 10% or 15%, but we've constantly kept it below that benchmark.
Yes.
What do you think about that reason that they give?
Well, indeed, we do have a myriad of challenges as a developing country. But I do know, as a development practitioner, that the way to actually overcome those challenges is to start with education. You pump as much money as possible into education. Once you get it right at the level of education, all other problems will begin to, sort themselves out one way or the other. Even health. If you want to solve problems of health, you have to take it from, effectively speaking, education level, because most of the challenges we have with respect to health come from our hands. The average Nigerian still doesn't know what to do with his hands. He puts it everywhere and then uses it to eat, uses it to drink water.
And doesn't wash it.
and doesn't wash it. So if we train our children from kindergarten to know how to take good care of their hands, you will discover that we'll have fewer people having to report at hospitals with different kinds of challenges. That's the truth of the matter. So keep procrastinating on when we start pumping as much as 15% of our budget into education, and then you continue to have all these challenges all over the place. Even the way we use our roads, okay? Much can be achieved by educating people through kindergarten to know how to behave in public places, to know how to use public property, to know how to use even electricity. You go to places and you find people have all the lights on when they can't even afford to pay. And why is this so? Because they don't realize the fact that when you keep your lights on, you are burning resources that you actually do not have. And the more you burn that, the less electricity you are going to have, because especially in terms of on a prolonged basis. And so if you want to have regular and reliable electricity, if you want to fix your health industry, if you want to get the roads in proper condition, you must get the people to know how to use public infrastructure.
Yeah, but what ministries should we be diverting these monies from to fund education? I mean, you if we say let's give education more money, we have to take the money from somewhere. You have the IMF, for instance, saying that Nigeria needs to scrap subsidies on petrol and electricity and channel that money into education and healthcare, for instance. So that's these are places that actually need the money, education and healthcare. But can we really afford to take money away from subsidies?
I'm not very sure that is our immediate challenge. Let's look at the case of security. We think that the way to deal with security is to keep buying more guns, get more police people enrolled into the system, train them in police colleges, and then recruit more people and train them to become soldiers, and of course buy more jets from other parts of the world and equip the jets with whatever they need to be able to kill people. The truth we know is that If you run a proper education system that is functional and people finish from the system, virtually every young person who wants to go to school is able to go to school, and they all finish with functional literacy, with the right skills, the right knowledge, and the right values, you discover that you will have less security challenges in your hand. Because a major reason why we have so many people who have moved into Yahoo business, who have moved into armed robbery, is because they don't have jobs. And so they have got to find a way, to put food on the table for themselves.
So should we take money from defense?
We can take money from defense, we can take money from general security provision, because you don't need more guns, you don't even need more, you don't need to patrol anywhere. If the people if those who should be in school are in school and they are learning what will enable them to become self-reliant and independent and have financial security, I can assure you that they will have no need to be in the streets looking for people to disturb.
Yeah, but at a time that we're spending a lot of money on defense, our crisis levels are at an all-time high. Yeah. Some analysts will even say this is the time to increase the defense budget. And you think we should take money out of defense?
No, that's bad logic. I've just finished explaining to you that the reason why you keep having more people you have to use guns to chase is because you haven't kept them in the school system. And when the few who are in the school system are not busy because their hands are not full, what are we teaching them? These children are not busy. The education system here is not engaging. So children leave the classrooms and they go and they indulge in crime. And then even those who manage to finish leave the school system without skills. And because they don't have the skills, employers haven't got jobs for them. And because we haven't got quality people running our industries, we're actually not a productive country, really, at the end of the day. So most of the things we use here, we import them from abroad. And so we are not industrialized because we also don't have the manpower to industrialize the country. And so long as these problems remain, then you will continue to have people who are idle. And then if you continue to have people who are idle, you have to deal with them, using guns. And so it's very bad logic. It's a cycle. It's very bad logic to pump money into defense and into security when you are not paying attention to the need to give people the right education that will make them self-reliant. Well, if you are busy taking good care of yourself, you have no business looking for how to destroy that which belongs to your neighbor.
In development circles, Dr. Gudu, a lot of stuff happens around the integration of approaches in solving many problems. Yes. So, I mean, the figures are gruesome to imagine, even from the research point of view. Yes. The numbers of children out of school. For Damo is arguing whether it's 10 million or it's 13 million. Anything million in the double digits is scary for anyone in terms of development circles to imagine what would happen if you extrapolate the figures, say 5-10 years later, and the attendant challenges that this will have to do for planning and development. But in every area I've seen many times that you've had to do stopgap approaches. Only yesterday we had discussions with the youth service scheme where the teachers registration council said don't send core members to teach in schools anymore as a stopgap measure in dealing with the teaching challenges in rural areas. That those teachers who were sent there were worsening the educational qualification. They didn't provide the statistics to show core member teachers were the ones responsible for falling or declining education standards. But let's take, for example, JAM. So 1.6 million write JAM every year on the average from what we are getting. If it goes higher on the average, look at 1.7 million. Only 600,000 guaranteed spaces in the schools. So 1 million are left on the sidelines. There is no core teacher position for those ones to deal with. And I've always wondered what happens to this 1 million deficit every year we're dealing with these people. That's just an example of figures and what we're doing with that.
Yes. And we have to also recognize that when you mention 1.6 million people who try to get into tertiary institutions through JAM, you probably have another 500,000 who are interested but don't even have the money to enter for JAM in the first place. And so many have tried several times, up to 4 times, and they couldn't succeed, and so they quit. So you have probably about 2 million who want to try, but because they don't have confidence that the system will let them in, they don't even try at all. So it's but the reason why that problem has remained is because we have refused to face the realities, that we should face. That we are not running the system with evidence. We can actually put every Nigerian child into tertiary institutions so long as they have the capacity to learn. If we are willing to consider the fact that people like us, have come up with in the course of research, there's no reason why any child in Nigeria who wants to go to university or polytechnic should not get in there. The reason why they are not getting is because there's no career management system in the country. Okay, there's no university here that I know.
What do you mean when you say career management system?
Yeah. go and ask the average Nigerian child who is even writing JAMB and ask him what he wants to study and why he wants to study it. Most of them don't have an idea. They don't have a clear idea. Most of the time, say, how did you come to know that you want to be a medical doctor? Most of the time, the answer is that's what my daddy told me.
That's career management, huh?
I mean, at the crudest level.
Okay. Now, those of us who do research in the sector, you ask another group of students why they want to study law, and they tell you that my pastor said that's the revelation that came to me from God.
Wow, really?
You know, so you find pastors, you find parents who are insisting that because you have a law practice, then your child must go and study law so that he can inherit your law practice.
My mother wanted me to study law because I argue a lot.
Interesting, okay?
And look at where you have.
Yeah, look at where you are. You know, having fun and impacting society positively. So if we had
arguing with the microphone,
yes, and my callers.
Okay, so we don't have that, and then there's no university in Nigeria that offers that training. So the average Nigerian child passes through, kindergarten, primary, secondary, and university, and has never had an opportunity to have his career, managed by professionals in the system. We don't even have them in the system at all. And so people make the wrong choice of courses, and when they want to write JAMB, UTME, nobody guides them as to where the kind of opportunities they're looking for are. And so everybody, wants to go to University of Ilorin, University of Lagos, and Ahmadu Bello if you're in the north, and then Ibadan. Those are the only universities they know. Whereas, if you stoop to conquer, you can go to several other universities that are available here, offering even better courses than you can imagine. But unfortunately, because of lack of information, the children do not know where these courses are, and they don't even understand what they should be studying in the first place. So they're asking for what they don't need in many cases, and some of them want to study medicine, and they probably haven't even done well in biology. And even when they have done well in biology, when they are writing the exam, because nobody is giving them appropriate guidance, they fail to write biology, and they probably do geography, and they want to get in for medicine. They might end up scoring 320, but when you get to the school you want to get into, they will look at the subjects you wrote in JAMB, and they tell you, for example, you didn't write biology, and because of that, you are not going to get any opportunity to come in here. So it's a huge problem, and unfortunately the body that runs this system, which is called JAMB, also haven't got career management specialists within the system. So they are just people who are doing government job. Compare them to similar bodies abroad. UCAS runs the kind of thing they are running here in the United Kingdom. And even look at the name of UCAS, Universities and Colleges Admission Service. It's a service. Okay, but this one is Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. It's just to provide a system through which people get in there. They are not providing any guidance. They are not providing any service, really.
But again, is that not a failing on the part of the universities themselves? Secondary schools now, secondary education. Shouldn't secondary education, you have a lot of secondary schools that have guidance and counseling units. My secondary school had a guidance and counseling unit, and those units are supposed to be what helps with the career management. So isn't that a failing on the part of the secondary schools, and by extension the state ministries that are supposed to regulate these secondary schools in the various states?
Yeah, if we go into the details regarding how terrible the system is, you will weep. I will have tears rolling out from your tears all through this discussion. If you go into the average Ministry of Education anywhere in the country, what you find is that the people running these places themselves are people who shouldn't even have been given certificate to qualify as educators. Wow. Interestingly, they haven't got an idea regarding what education means and where education is currently at the global stage. And we haven't got professional career managers in ministries of education across the country. It's even worse at the federal level. You don't have them. Now, what some universities in Nigeria offer is what you call, career guidance and counseling. But that's not what I'm talking about. I also trained as a guidance counselor. That's what I did at undergraduate level. So I have passed through that system, and I know what they offer. What they're offering is not what I'm discussing here in terms of career management, because the career management element is completely absent from guidance and counseling that we teach in Nigerian universities. And until we start teaching career management properly, we will continue to waste our time. So what do you find the average counselor you find in the secondary schools that you're mentioning do is to help children to register for JAMB, register them for WAEC exam, register them for NECO exam. And the average child who has passed through secondary school, you ask him, did you ever get a one-on-one session with your guidance counselor? Most of the time, the answer is no. Did you even ever get a group counseling, assistance? Most of the time, the answer is no. So what does your counselor do? The counselor organizes talent hunt. The counselor organizes, for professionals to come from industry and come and speak. So, but sometimes you can go and bring somebody who is a qualified chartered accountant, and he comes, he talks to everybody, whether or not they have the aptitude to be accountant. Yes. And in the first place, a chartered accountant is not the person who should be advising you on career, because the fact that he has done well in his own field and is doing well in that field does not mean that he's in a position to advise you as to whether you should follow him or not. There are people who are trained to know whether you should be an accountant, should be a medical doctor, should be in the studio like you people are. And the mere fact that you have done well in the sciences in secondary school is not proof that you have to be an engineer and do sciences. Okay, there are people.
One day we're going to have a conversation about that that separation process. I was talking about it yesterday. How you fail chemistry, and that automatically means that you can't do science.
Yeah, you can't do science.
Or you fail government, and that automatically means you can't do arts.
It's very funny. And even those who manage eventually to get into university, once you get in there to study, for example, psychology, you are in for psychology. So if you fail psychology, you exit the system. That's not where education is today. If you get into university in England, if you get into university in America, for 2 years you are still experimenting. You have enough space to explore. So by the time you get your second year, you can say, well, I came in here thinking psychology is it for me, but I have discovered that I'm going to study philosophy. That's what gives me joy. And you'll be given the platform, the opportunity, and the resources.
That's how Steve Jobs came to be.
Interestingly, to make the switch. Nobody is given any chance here to make a switch, because we haven't got professional career managers in the system. If go to universities in England, go to universities in Germany, in America, even in China, what you find is that you get to the career management unit, you can find as many as 10 to 20 PhD holders. All they do on a daily basis is sit down and listen to students. They don't even teach. You don't have any such system anywhere in Nigeria. You can't even find one PhD holder anywhere in Nigeria who is running a career management office, and which is very unfortunate for us.
I'm enjoying this conversation.
I dread to ask Dr. Gudura about the learning pyramid after this one, where we are in the years of his research. But we'll take a quick break. It's a big hard fact. We're talking about education, looking ahead to when President Buhari will assign the portfolio to one of the ministers designate was screened and confirmed by the Senate a couple of weeks ago. Sandra and I still on. We'll take that break. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
is Ronke from Ikorodu.
Hi, I'm Emeka from Festa.
My name is Ahmed from Apapa.
I want to tell you about my radio. My radio is my best friend.
My steady companion.
My radio keeps me informed
all day long
with hot topics,
trending news,
politics, and current affairs.
My radio gives me the best music.
My radio is
Nigeria Info.
Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info.
Yes, indeed. Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info. If you're not listening or watching us on Facebook or YouTube at Nigeria Info FM, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh. And we're talking about disservice or service in the education ministry. Is Dr. Peter Ogudoro, education expert. And we're comparing notes, and it's a difficult thing to want to compare those notes, but it's a task that we must. Damo was before. Sandra and I had the privilege of listening to the screening and hear all those dreary statistics on what we're doing with education. And I was asking Dr. Ogudoro that you have the onerous task of going through the school system, primary, secondary, and tertiary, in understanding exactly what we're doing. And you perhaps in the best place to understand whether there's an existing model. We can disagree whether we can have a uniform policy for the state, the federal, and local for the schools there. But in terms of learning pyramid, like you talk about many times, on where we are, people will say this is where Nigerian schools are, and they do all those rankings. And I know a number of times we have the polls out, and they say they're being biased towards Nigeria. Whether we've made any progress really, or we're going downwards still.
We haven't made any progress. The evidence suggests that we are going downwards, really, because these days there's so much emphasis and focus on certification, on making children pass exams, and we are not devoting enough time to actually doing helping them to learn. And as a researcher in the industry, every time teachers gather, including the school owners, the school heads of school principals, and they have come for training, and I'm involved, I tend to start with the question: so what is learning? I have never had an occasion when one person got the answer right.
What is learning?
Yeah, learning hasn't taken place until there's change in behavior as a result of that encounter you have had with the person you are trying to teach. But the average Nigerian teacher believes that he's in the classroom to give knowledge to students. And so there's always focus on, giving them knowledge. And that's not what is learning. It has little or nothing to do with acquisition, really. It's about changing behavior. So if I teach you and I finish and I give you questions and you respond and get all the answers right, but I put you in a situation where you're supposed to use that knowledge to make a difference, and you don't make any difference. You have learned nothing in spite of the fact that you're leaving the school system with A1 in all their subjects. And that's where our problem lies in Nigeria, because most of the time you'll find somebody who has a first class in electronic engineering. Something goes wrong with the electrical system in this place. He has no idea regarding how to fix it, because the people who taught him right from kindergarten have always been focusing on giving him opportunity to acquire knowledge, which he does not, he knows little or nothing about in terms of how to use it to solve practical problems. And until we transform the system to get every teacher to know what is in the classroom to do, you will continue to have the challenge of Nigerians finishing and not being able to solve problems, and employers will continue to quarrel with such individuals. And of course, today that if you return from abroad, from England, Canada, or America, and you are trying to get a job here, whereas those who pass through the Nigerian school system will be put through aptitude tests several times before they get to interview. Those coming from abroad will just be, given the opportunity to come straight for interview, because they understand that education is not just your certificate. It's just about, education is more importantly about your ability to solve practical problems, to make a difference wherever you find yourself, and then having the capacity to think critically, to disagree when the need arises, and to also agree when the need arises. But the kind of education we are giving here is the education that tells us that once you finish with A1 in all your subjects, you get a job. You get a job. And so everyone is striving for A1. So regardless of how everybody's striving for A1. And that's where the challenge that JAMB has had over the years is coming from, because JAMB finishes and sends people to universities. And when they start learning, universities discover that these children haven't got the capacity to benefit from university education. And they say, wow, we cannot continue like this. And that's how they started insisting on post-UTME, which is costing Nigerian parents more money. And then some people have accidents on their way traveling to London, to Ahmadu Bello to go and write post-UTME. It's wasteful, it's an unnecessary challenge we are imposing on children. We shouldn't travel to anywhere after we have written JAMB UTME. If that examination is able to measure what it is supposed to measure. But because it lacks validity, people cheat in the system. People, teachers stand in the classroom to tell their students answer to question 1 is B, answer to question 2 is C, and things like that. So people get in without having skills, so they can benefit from further education, and they are also not able to resolve the kind of problem that their certificates say they can currently resolve. So the problem persists. And going back to the issue of the pyramid, we are still at the starting point. Which is at just knowledge, because that's how we have trained teachers to believe that they are there to help children to acquire knowledge. Visit the average classroom here and you discover that the classrooms are also organized in a way that just makes children to acquire knowledge, because the teacher stands in front and you have that regular lecture, theater style. Every child just keeps looking at one individual who is a omniscient person who knows everything.
Who cannot be questioned.
You can't even ask him questions.
You
can't even question.
They get vindictive.
Across all levels, even at university level.
Even at master's level.
Even at PhD level. People just, you get there, you put your hand, your 2 hands behind your back, and whatever the teacher says is correct. But we know that that's not education, because even at the level of kindergarten, the child is bringing to bear, on the system, some things that even the teacher who is 40 years old may not know. He asks you questions that will start, get you thinking about some dimensions you were not thinking about before.
And you just shut them down.
And so you don't.
So children write exams now, and I've seen that children write exams and they say they have to score children. I'm wondering.
So you don't need to. In proper societies, nobody should be writing exam before he's age 10. In Finland, nobody writes exam until he or she is age 16, because exam is not useful at that level. Okay, but we start worrying about examination certificate and grades from the age of 2. And here we hear parents say, my child started writing, letters at the age of 3. And so what? And what difference does that make? And see parents now cheating and telling lies about even the ages of their children.
So whose responsibility is it to fix this problem? I mean, it sounds daunting. And when you compare it to other countries and what they've done with their system, there's been a lot of growth there. There's not a lot of growth here.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it to fix this system? Is it the schools? Is it the proprietors of these schools? Is it the Ministry of Education? Who needs to start the process?
The leadership needs to start the process. And when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about the political leadership. We must get a Minister of Education who is a professional in the industry. We haven't had that for quite some time now, and that's very unfortunate for us.
Did we have that when Oboh Ezekwesili was there?
Not exactly. Oboh Ezekwesili has some understanding of education, but that's still it's not her field. So she's not a core educationist. That has little or nothing to do with her intelligence. She's a brilliant woman. If give her jobs in the areas of her expertise, she will do a fantastic job. But she knows that what she went to school to learn is not education. Unfortunately, in this country, we don't usually give recognition to professionals who belong to this area. Especially
so get the leadership right.
So you have to get the leadership right. If you get the leadership right, then the leadership will insist that similar professionals are also manning education ministries at the state level, and then you have it duplicated even in local government environments, and that's very important. Then we need to retrain education inspectors so that they know what they should worry about when they go to schools to inspect these places. Most of the time they worry about lesson note. In modern society, we don't worry about lesson note. So what are teachers doing? Teachers are just ticking boxes. You come to school because the vice principal, who has responsibility to check that the lesson notes are intact, goes about, have you copied their note? Have all the children copied their notes? So what do teachers do? Teachers give incentives to children to copy their notes, because if they don't copy their notes, they won't get their salary at the end of the month.
The incentive was cane for me. I hated copying biology notes.
Now I understand why nursery school children are copying
notes.
They have
it just clicked.
Yeah, because it helps the teacher to earn his salary. Because if the owner of the school doesn't see those notes copied, by the children, and the lesson note, up to date, then the teacher doesn't get paid. And so learning is not taking place, but the notes are actually being copied, and that's quite unfortunate for us. So we need to train, do better justice to your question. We need to train parents to understand what they should be looking for in the school system. They shouldn't be looking for a school system that gives their children too much of assignment to take home every day. They shouldn't be looking for a school system where the school fees is beyond their reach, because it's out with that you don't measure the quality of education by how much the school charges. Yeah, because in some cases one school can charge 100,000 and deliver superior education compared to the one that is charging $1 million. But unfortunately, parents don't know this. And you also don't measure the quality of education by even how shiny the buildings are, because what is most critical, especially for our kind of circumstance, is the quality of the person standing in the classroom teaching the children.
That's right.
And I can confirm to you that sometimes the people who don't even get paid well are the ones who know what they're doing. But unfortunately for us, we don't judge these systems, along those lines. So some of us are trying to see what we can do to train parents, to understand what they should be looking for, to train the school owners to understand what they should be paying attention to, and then to also get into ministries of education to get them to realize that they should not be bothering the system with getting teachers to be up to date with lesson notes when they are not causing learning to take place.
Have you
in the
considered
system.
creating a ratings system for schools, at least in Lagos? Schools that meet the standards that you talk about all the time, to help parents at least better decide. This is a school that you can go to. You can even charge a fee for it, sir.
Yeah, well, certainly. It's just that in this country, people resist change even when you're offering the service for free. Like this discussion we're having here is worth millions for some parents, because some parents have been pouring several millions into a particular school system, thinking that the money they are spending is what is going to give them good education. But ask them to listen to this conversation from beginning to the end. They tell you they are busy, but then tomorrow they go and work all day and then all year round looking for the millions to go and throw away, and not much of learning is taking place. So yes, the answer is yes. Some of us are trying to offer some help. At Ikeja, really, I do have a center where I offer for free. It's called University Access Center, where we offer for free counseling service to parents who want to take important decisions, and those who have having challenges with school fees. We get you to understand that you don't have to really pay money that you do not have. You don't have to borrow money to send your children to school, and to understand too that it doesn't take a lot of money to get good quality education. And if you want to go to university, you need to write JAMB UTME only once if you follow a proper procedure to get there. That's the truth of the matter. No matter what you want to study medicine, you want to study engineering, you shouldn't write JAMB more than once if we follow a procedure that is tested, professionally. All right. And you all need to get access to that. And
let's engage, because I'm sure you a number of people are listening
and trying to call. Oh, they're already calling.
All right. The step above the knowledge is what?
Well, after the knowledge, you move to comprehension.
Okay.
Otherwise known as understanding.
Are comprehending.
No, understanding is what we hope to have.
The top is where?
Yeah, the top, of course, is the level at which we create new knowledge.
New knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see whether we have
created new knowledge.
new knowledge here. Our numbers: 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and then 012773993. On WhatsApp is 08095975805. Engage with us and let's hear what you have to think about the Ministerial Portfolio Education.
Hello, Emeka. How are you? Welcome.
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sandra, good evening to your guest.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, you are hitting the nail at the target.
Thank you.
What touched me most now is the issue of assignment, homework.
Yes.
I've went to my children's school and told them that there are a number of homework they give to these students. It's as if they are transferring this learning or this teaching to the parents at home.
Yes.
So what do they really want to achieve by this? That when we are growing up, we don't have this much homework every day. The what you can have is maybe during weekend they might give us a little higher, but not every day. Student comes home with like 6, 7 homework, large numbers, asking a primary 2 student to give you binary numbers. You understand?
Yeah.
All those big standards are not too good for learning.
That's true.
Personally, I've went to the children of my school and told them that, please, this is not how you should teach my children. And maybe they see me as an inquisitive parent. Now, what is your own? Again, how do I challenge such school if they continue?
Yeah.
And this issue of school fees, I want proprietors of school to see it as service and not a business.
Okay.
Because they see it as business where they charge whatever they feel they can charge without any control. Some of these schools that charge bigger fees don't even have policies and standards.
Yes.
But because of the class issue, people of particular class,
social class, yes,
they tend to go to particular school because of the class they feel they are in, not knowing that they're throwing that money away.
That's true.
You understand? So what what should I do?
Okay.
If the school of my children insists on giving them higher homework every day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Emeka, thank you for calling us. Do you have a quick answer for that? Because we have everybody else lined up.
Yeah, interestingly, as I was mentioning, there's need to train parents, and there's this fear that if I speak, they will label me a troublemaker. If you know you can't handle it on your own, visit my office at 17 Toyin Street. We'll take up the matter because we have got to a stage where we can no longer wait for ministries of education to do their job. So if you find yourself in that kind of circumstance, 17 Toyin Street in Ikeja is a very easy place to locate. Visit me, and then we take it up on your behalf, because it's a social service we must render. We can't keep complaining and nobody's doing anything. Okay, if your problem is that of JAMB and you want to get into university, visit and we'll give you ideas on how to crack the problem.
JAMB.
Yeah, there's no reason why you should write JAMB twice and continue to try.
Hello.
All right, let's talk to Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. Welcome.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Emmanuel.
Good evening, Aghogho. Actually, I have a contribution. My cousin brother, who is just about 4 years, comes back from school almost every day except Friday by 6 a.m., almost 6 p.m. every day. And not only does he come back that late, he will come back with box of assignments, like plenty of take-home work, So I was discussing this with my brother, talking about how this is not right. A child of that age shouldn't be bombarded with such kind of knowledge at the expense of his health and everything.
Yes.
So I don't really know how this thing is going to work out, but I believe that the Commissioner of Education should actually rise up and do something. And I know it is not only in my boys' school. Also everywhere. Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And actually,
unfortunately,
the worst thing now is they make it compulsory that he must stay. If he doesn't stay, they will actually cut it from his mark everything. So if he doesn't stay for the extra time, extra moral class, it will be deducted from his mark, from his score.
Wow.
So it doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't.
For a child of 4 years to be spending how many hours on
Emmanuel,
sitting down.
it's quite a thing. Let's talk to Ernest in Badagry. Thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts. Ernest, how are you? Good evening. Oh, that's unfortunate. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra.
Good evening to you, sir. What's your name?
Good evening.
And your guest in the studio.
Good evening.
All right. You see, your first call, I think it was speaking my mind, That was the time my daughter was coming home with a lot of homework. Then I'm the one solving it. And one day I remember, show me the example of this particular question where your sister solved it.
Okay.
She said, you didn't solve it. Just said they should go and solve it at home.
Yes.
Then I told her that, go and tell your owner that you should instruct the teachers that they should be giving people example, teaching people this in first. Not every time you come back home with this and say, Daddy, they say we should stop the other. Then I'm the one and I am telling them. What is the point, man?
Yeah.
You can't really show me the example of the one you have done. Say, this is how you have done. It's very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate.
Well, thank you for calling and sharing that with us. We've got Godwin on the line. Godwin, turn your radio down.
It's okay. I'm far away from it now.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to be part of this discussion.
Godwin, we're still hearing your radio.
So I've gone away from the radio right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it better?
Yes, this is better. Go ahead.
It's okay. I could remember during my time, years back, there was what we call after class, you go and rest, sleep, then before coming for prep. These days, with privatization of education by this so-called the class that got the best, boarding school, scholarship, both within and outside the country. Today, they are the one in charge of the management of this country.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they have made the situation so difficult for ordinary one to survive. The boarding school, which used to exist during by the government, the state government or whatever, then they are all dead. The school, secondary and university that students were being fed, which these current people in government now are the ones that enjoying all those things. But they killed all those things, and they are the ones sending their children to this abroad. And they have killed everything, and unfortunately, they left the situation a hopeless way. The only way that I think can bring these people to a sensible leadership level is to ensure that whoever is going to be a leader of this country, the children must not school outside the country. They should all go through the educational process in this country, and that is only where they can do the right thing. Otherwise, no matter the value and the class of effort is like that gentleman, that great man that was you were discussing with, no matter what, if those people were not made to face and drink the water that is being provided here, educationally and whatever, then all that we are doing, it will just be a dream.
Yeah.
So,
Godwin, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Much. Yeah. So let's make the point that if we wait until Minister of Education rises up to solve the problem, we are likely going to wait for eternity. It's not going to happen. So parents, the teachers, those running the school system, we all have to get up. And those of us who are professional educators, we should get involved and begin to solve this problem. And so some of us are willing, to make that contribution. At the level of currently, the major problem is lack of knowledge. Most people who are living with this problem, parents who are throwing money away, thinking that it's high fees that mean high quality education. The teachers who are running about, ticking boxes, compelling children to copy notes, and they themselves filling in, different kinds of registers, trying to meet the expectations of those who come from the Ministry of Education. They're all wasting time. I think that the time has come for us to, gather together, and by the grace of God, I have put in place, a system that enables everybody to come and get that information for free. You only need to visit my office and present your case, and we'll help you with free guidance services, so that especially for those these people who have been writing jam over the years and they don't seem to find any way out of it. They shouldn't continue to run about in circles.
So
let them come in.
17,
Tony Street in Ikeja. If they come in there, we give them the keys to solve those problems. Parents do the same.
Keys.
You see all the lines blazing there.
Everybody wants to call us.
How time flies when you're having a great discussion. Thank you very much, Dr. Peter Oghudoro, education expert, international education consultant also too. Always great. We could grab you now that you're on the country.
Perhaps we'll continue this conversation on the other side.
Yes, we will.
Of I beg to differ. We'll find something about education that you can differ on.
Yes. Thank you very much again, Dr.
My
Oghudoro.
pleasure. Yeah.
The news is coming up at 6, and after that, I beg to differ. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh.
Facts.